You're not crazy, John. You're just different. Welcome to the Hey You Guys podcast. I'm Rob, that's Liam, and today we're diving into one of the most stylish, brain-bending, reality-warping cult films of the 90s, 1998's Dark City, a movie that asks the big questions. Who are we? What is memory? Why does Kiefer Sutherland talk like he's permanently out of breath? And most importantly, why does every street look like it was built by a committee of goths who have never seen daylight? The film is noir, sci-fi, horror, philosophy, and German expressionism, all duct taped together by Alex Proyas, who clearly woke up one morning and said, "What if we made a movie where the sun is a rumor?" It's a world where time stops at midnight. Buildings rearrange themselves like they're in a home makeover they're in a home makeover show from hell. And a group of bald telepathic weirdos in trench coats float around like Cenobite estate agents. And look, we all know The Matrix gets the cultural spotlight, but Dark City was there first. The reality is a simulation paranoia, the oppressive urban nightmare, the existential dread. It's all here a year earlier, just weirder, moodier, and drenched in noir shadows. Dark City didn't just influence The Matrix. It feels like the Wachowskis watched this and said, cool, now let's add Kung Fu. And this week is special because this was Liam's first ever viewing. No nostalgia, no VHS memories, no late night rewatches. Just a fresh pair of eyes dropped straight into a city designed by psychic goths. So come on, Liam, I have to ask, as your first viewing, what did you make of The Matrix -1?
Well, that's pretty much what it feels like, The Matrix -1. It's bizarre because when you watch it, I always thought and I'd heard that
Can I ask? Sorry, before we get too deep into it, I do apologize. Director's cut or normal cut? Which one
the
did you
one
watch?
without the voiceover, so I assume it's the
Oh, the
director's cut.
director's cut. So yeah, the one without the Blade Runner-esque Kiefer Sutherland
Yeah.
voiceover.
And generally speaking, I'm glad to be watching that because I mean there are a few examples of voiceover working in movies, but there's a very brief voiceover at the start from the, as you mentioned earlier, very like disconcertingly breathy Kiefer Sutherland, and then when I heard that, I was like, oh shit, am I watching the version where he's going to be doing this voiceover the entire film? No, it was just that intro and the rest of the movie, you're just off to the races. It does mean that watching it for the first time, it leaves you to your own devices and the reveals come very late into the movie. So for a long time, I was watching this and I was just like, I really don't know what the fuck's going on, which was kind of fine, but it's actually hard to write notes about a movie when you're just like, this might be explained away 3 minutes later, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first thing that grabs you are the unbelievable similarities to The Matrix. Now, this isn't just something where it's got like a few kind of tonal, consistencies or a few kind of visual motifs which run across both movies. I wrote down 12 glaring similarities, and that it doesn't cover everything. So I'm just going to go through them super quick because we'll get through them as we go through this movie.
Does one of them include basically Neo borrowing Mr. Hand's jacket? Is that one of them?
No, I didn't do that.
Okay.
Well, that was one of the few things, because when they're like out on the street, they do look quite Matrixy. One of the few things that looks different to basically the Matrix, and it always sounds weird when I'm saying like this, because again, this came out before the Matrix, is when you see the strangers, as they're referred to in the film, down in their, underplanetary dungeon thing, it suddenly looks very kind of Hellraiser-esque. A little bit of Time Bandit, the end of Time Bandit with, I guess he's supposed to be the devil at the end of Time Bandit. He looks like he could just stroll into like set left and you'd be like, yeah, he looks like he belongs here. But other than that, everything else looks very Matrixy. The big issue is that it simply lacks cool. And it's what you said earlier. It's basically The Matrix minus Kung Fu. And in terms of like conceptually, this movie is even stranger than The Matrix. But what it is lacking is that cool factor, which ultimately pushed The Matrix to become this kind of cultural phenomenon, which this movie very much wasn't. This movie is fun and it's weird, but because it doesn't have, I know we said they dress similarly. Nobody in this film looks like fucking Trinity. Nobody looks quite like Neo. And there are no guns and there's no fucking kung fu. And you're just like, this is why it's just not as awesome.
You say it lacks, it lacks kung fu. It also lacks answers. Because you never get told, like, were these people cloned? Were they made? Were they kidnapped from Earth? Like you're left to your own devices for all that. Sorry, please go. Give me your 12.
No, I know. I think you're right. Like you said, I think Alex Proyas just doesn't care. Like basically, he's come into this film. He's a vibes man, and he's just like, listen, I've got like an aesthetic and this weird idea in my head, and I just want to put all the visuals, like you said, German expressionism, neo noir aesthetic. It's like I'm going to put it all up on screen. And at some point, someone's like, dude, this got to make sense. It's like okay, I'll try and kind of make sense of things in the last 15 minutes. But like you said, there's some like 4 or 5 things, massive things. Like, how did they fucking get there? Are
Yeah.
they even human? Not answered at all.
It's funny you say that about Alex Proyas because the whole idea for the film, the whole reason for the film, is
Mhm.
because when he was shooting The Crow, he was so enamored with the way they moved the sets around. So they
Yeah.
moved the sets, and like this street became that street. So he designed a whole film around moving streets, and it just chucked everything inside of it. Like, okay, fucking, what an idea! Like,
In fairness, that is one of the few things that this movie explains which other movies don't. So you think of that kind of retro futurism. When the movie starts, the first shot, and you get that cool combination of physical effects and limited CG. But of course, the first thing that comes to your mind is Tim Burton. It's like
yeah,
when you have the
yeah,
shot through the city, it just looks like '89 Batman. But what those movies don't do is explain why you're getting this version of retrofuturism. Those films are just like, it's just a conceit. It's just, it is. That is literally the answer. It just is. Whereas in this film, because of the whole idea that these aliens, the strangers, have taken different concepts, presumably from Earth, different times, different places, and they've just mashed them all together. And that's why you end up with this place which looks like it could be America, it could be Europe, it could be the future, it could be the past. And it's the first movie where I'm just like, oh, they kind of made sense of it at least.
yeah,
There's a
yeah.
reason that it looks like that rather than just, oh, I think it looks cool. Which I'm
The
sure
20,
also he thought it looked cool.
the 20s meet the 40s. It's absolutely
Yeah,
insane. All of a sudden they've got a canal system as well that they're going through.
just
It's
throw in
absolutely.
whatever you want.
Please give me a 12 before I
Sorry,
keep
yes.
interrupting you. I do
So
apologize.
no, and then I go off on a
Yeah,
tangent. So
yeah,
yeah, so number one, world is manufactured, needs to be uncovered. The architect versus the hive mind of the strangers.
yes.
Two, the chosen one to save everyone with latent superpowers. Like I said, needs more kung fu, but the ending is very Matrix Resurrections when they go flying up into the sky and have their Professor
Even
X battle.
even the fact that they've hinted that there's been a few of them in the past. They've always hinted in
100%.
Matrix that there was a one before.
Oh yeah,
Like,
100%
and in this
Matrix. Yeah.
one, I think the copper says it as well. There's always a few of us
Mhm.
who wake up and we
Yeah,
start.
yeah. He's
Yeah.
just the
So
one who's kind of pushed on. It's in a slightly
yeah,
different way, but the vibe is the same. Number three, the obvious neo-noir aesthetic. Number four, the green tinge cinematography, which starts from the very open. I
yeah,
mean, we'll get to the bathroom sequence, which is basically like it literally looks like it was shot in the exact same location as Trinity. You know them from the first Matrix film when the cops come in and they find
yes.
Trinity at the computer. It's got the same cinematography. It looks like the same location. It's uncanny.
It looks like
Um,
you're looking through your nan's 80s bathroom glass because it used to be that color green, doesn't it? Where you
100%.
yeah, yeah,
But very much the cinematography of the late 90s, early 2000s.
yeah.
Speaking of which, I said it looks similar. There's a rooftop set. I was like, that looks really similar to the
Mm.
Matrix as well. It's because it's the same fucking
It's
one.
because they sold it to them. Yeah.
So some of the stuff you see in this film actually is from the Matrix. I said the bathroom sequence looks so close to
Yeah.
Cops versus Trinity.
Yes.
Waking up from the dream, the whole William Hurt versus when he's talking to Crazy Eddie in his apartment, that could just as easily be a conversation about the Matrix. Basically the same
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
The agents of the strangers, basically the same thing. Being used by aliens rather than robots to survive. I know there's the whole, they're kind of looking into the human soul rather than using them as batteries, but ostensibly they're using human bodies to get ultimately what what they're after, I suppose.
Yeah.
The use of deja vu, I repeat people in different roles instead of cats. Both deal quite clearly with themes of identity, and 12, the lack of daylight, albeit real world of the Matrix versus the fabricated dark world. And those are just some of the things I listed down. That I was like, at 12, I was like, I've got to stop. But if
Yeah.
you haven't seen this film, or God forbid, if you watch this movie before The Matrix, if you go back and watch it now, chances are you've probably seen The Matrix. It is genuinely uncanny.
It makes me think like I said, the Wachowskis are watching this film, and one sister, sorry, said to the other sibling now, fucking hell, come watch this film, but grab a pen.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
just they just watch fucking Enter the Dragon or
And
something.
I appreciate we're being a bit melodramatic here because obviously the Matrix are a year apart. They didn't watch this film and then go, we're going to make another one. They were already in production.
No, it was
But
already in production. This
yeah,
is by any other standards, this would be a Deep Impact Armageddon slash Dante's Peak versus Volcano situation.
the
They
house
just
on
happen
Haunted Hill. Yeah.
exactly. They just happen to be a year apart. If anything, it's a shame for this movie that it came out a year earlier because, like you said, like this film was already in production. Like this is just one of those weird happenstances. If this had come out in '99, I don't think it would have made crazy money. but there would have been so much conversation about this film because of
Yeah.
the similarities to the
You know,
Matrix.
similarities. The latest example that we have is we've already covered it is the
Mhm.
Raid Dread
Yeah, of
similarities,
course. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
where
Massive. Yeah.
yeah, it's in a building locked down, and this is the same thing. It's in some sort of made up world,
Hmm.
and you have controllers controlling it, and you have to break out of that state that you're
Yeah.
in to see the outer shell, as it were. So
Yeah, yeah.
uh, it's
But no,
it's
no, I
very
totally
interesting.
agree. But the issue with this film, and you alluded to it earlier, is the simple fact that, the Matrix does a great job of explaining a really complex like theme and
Yeah,
setup. And basically what that allows for then is because they do such a good job of explaining it, and a lot of it is show rather than tell. We've mentioned numerous times, including when we went back and covered the Matrix, that it's a near perfect film, and it allows for basically the last 40 minutes to just be a set, like one set piece after another, because you're already in the world, you already know the rules. Now we can just get off to the races. This film is explaining things up until the last fucking seconds.
yeah.
And one of the biggest issues I had with it is, oh God, I forgot his name now. I will get there now. The guy who plays
Rufus Sewell.
Rufus Sewell. Yeah. So
Yeah,
when you see Rufus Sewell, who plays John Murdoch in this film, basically you hit the ground running because he doesn't know what's going on, because he wakes up and he's like, wait a minute, have I murdered someone? I have no clue what's going on. I think this movie would have benefited massively if it had just had time to breathe. If you in real time could have experienced the weirdness of the world, like as in, why isn't it daylight? Why
yeah.
is everybody going through these like weird kind of, almost like this like kind of programmable, like constant night system, for lack of a better term? Instead, you're trying to figure out as you go. And by the end, it retrospectively makes sense. But for like 20, 30 minutes, I was just like, fuck me, I just have no idea what's going on.
So I think I'm all right with where it started because I mean John Murdoch or Rufus Sewell, I'm
Mhm.
assuming 10 minutes beforehand was not John Murdoch.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
can't
Yeah,
see the
yeah.
world happening because 10 minutes beforehand,
Mhm.
John Murdoch
No, no,
existed
I
with somebody
understand
else.
that. Yeah.
So I'm okay with that. And as it goes on, you start to see, William Hurt may have been Bumstead for a couple of Inspector
Mhm.
Frank Bumstead for a couple of iterations, but they keep chopping and changing. What you said about it kept asking questions, or even asked questions right up until the end. What was his name? Sorry, Mr. I want to say Mr. Book is the leader.
Mr.
I
Book's the
believe it's
leader. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So Mr. Book says shut it down because we've got our answer. He's our
Mhm.
next stage. But you don't
Mhm.
know next stage of what? Like, is it
No idea.
exactly like
Oh, I don't even know why they're dying. I'm like,
it
why are
made
they
me
dying?
it made me think it was like, and this is really deep. I don't know if you've seen them all. Have you seen Cube?
Yes, I have seen Cube. Yeah, yeah.
Have you seen
Absolutely bonkers, but I do like it. Yeah.
have you seen all of the cubes?
I have not seen all the
No,
cubes now.
okay. Handheld, I have even the South Korean remake. Uh,
Fantastic. Fantastic.
but yeah, so Cube and then Cube 2 Hypercube, where it was a cube within a cube. And
Class. Of
this
course.
honestly felt like this was the same thing, where it was the strangers. This was like phase one of it, and they were going to move like John Murdoch. They probably
Mhm.
had a load of John Murdoch, so they were all going to end up in another dark city, and that was like Hypercube. And I thought that's what they're like
It's
alluding
just
to.
never explained. And
No,
the thing
not
is,
at
there's
all.
there's a
And that's
balance
the
again.
problem with it. Yeah,
I know there's again. I'm gonna try and stop like constantly comparing this movie to The Matrix.
oh, you
But by
can't
the
though.
end,
That's the
you
problem.
can't. But
Yeah,
and again, partly because it's this like the truly successful version of this. And don't get me wrong, this film is fun. Like I enjoyed this movie, but it
yes,
has its faults. And the difference, like you get to the end of The Matrix, you still have all these questions about like the wider world, but everything in front of you is explained. So you're kind of quite happy with where you are because you step away, you're like, oh God, there's so many different ways this could go. I wonder what this is. I wonder what that is. But everything that is important to the plot and important that in terms of the narrative that of that specific movie, it all gets explained successfully. Whereas in this film, of course, you have those larger questions, but the problem is a lot of the stuff, like you said, on screen doesn't get explained. Like I don't know why he is suddenly the answer to their prayers. Like it isn't made clear. Maybe I missed it, but I don't even know why they're dying. I something to do with the fact that they're a hive mind and they want to figure out individuality. But I'm like, why is that killing them? Is that
yeah.
explained? I don't think it is.
No, it's not explained. It's not explained. Like, what is the experiment? Is the experiment like human emotion? Because they're moving people around to see how they react is different.
Well,
stereotypes and statuses and things like that. It's very interesting. And another
that is
question.
sorry, just before
No,
you
go.
move on.
Yeah.
That is actually, I think, the most thematically interesting aspect of this film, and it's criminally underplayed because the idea of like basically what they're looking for is like the human soul, because they're just like, all right, there's individuality, but what ultimately makes humans individuals? And they're looking for this concept of a soul, obviously. And the way they go about it is actually really interesting. This idea. So if you look at the main characters, who's sorry, John Murdoch in this
Yeah.
instance, this idea that he's suddenly been put in this new body and he's got all the memories of this killer. And they're basically saying, all right, so you're suddenly dropped into a situation, you've got nothing but the only memories you have are of this killer, whereas like literally a moment ago you were killing this woman. Will you just carry on killing because that's what your memories are and that's the person you now are? Or is there something inherently unique about your soul, which means that, oh, well, I'm not going to keep doing this. I don't want to do this. And it's just like, it's actually like thematically a super interesting question if you put people in that position. It's like, well, why wouldn't he just keep killing if his memories dictated as such? If that's the person he's, as far as his brain is concerned, that's the person he's been his entire life. But there's something unique inherently which kind of stops you and goes, no, no, this doesn't feel right, which runs kind of in the background throughout this film. And I think it's actually narratively super important, but they just never quite grasp onto the concept in any meaningful way, sadly.
In regards to that concept as well, I'm probably going to use this word wrong, but I want to use this word. It's the fact that memories are like corporeal.
Mm-hmm.
They can fit into a syringe. You can put memories into a
Yeah.
syringe, apparently, and then inject those memories into somebody's head.
Well, apparently Kiefer Sutherland, who I was like, is he going for like kind of ex-Nazi scientist vibe? I don't quite know what he was going for, but he's just like, oh yeah, I'm just going to be the weird scientist
You
guy.
are spot on. I fucking wrote it down that I'm pretty sure he hid from persecution, like he ran away.
That's what
I
it
honestly
felt like
thought he
to
was a
me.
Nazi scientist. Yeah.
That's what I think he was going for. I don't think he went all in on the accent to make it too obvious, but I think that's the vibe he's going for. It's a peculiar performance, but then it's a peculiar movie, so you just kind of run with it. And I don't actually think he's the biggest issue. I actually think one of the biggest issues, even though he's fine and he does grow into the role, I think Rufus Sewell as John Murdoch is a bit of an issue with this film
We
because
are
I'm
going to be
like,
saying that name wrong both times.
yeah, sorry. So is
No,
it
no, no, no.
Rufus
Please go.
Sewell?
I call him Sewell. Rufus
Sewell.
Sewell.
Okay,
So
Rufus
yeah,
Sewell. Sorry, I do
yeah.
apologize. Rufus Sewell. So Rufus Sewell, he's perfectly good in this film. He has he's like, let's be clear, he's Oscar Isaac light. He just is.
He really is. But I mean, I appreciate what Alex Proyas was going for with him was the fact that he needed somebody that could act, but he needed somebody that nobody knew.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
I think Rufus Sewell has done a couple of things before UK wise, but not
Yeah,
anywhere
yeah, in the
else. So
States.
I mean,
Because most of
I
the
haven't
roles,
really
most of the roles people would know him for, like, they came after this, didn't they? So it was like, is it First Night? Was that the one it was
A
called? Or
Knight's Tale, which was
A Knight's
three
Tale,
fucking
first
years
title.
after 3 years after this.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's insane.
And
2001 A Knight's Tale
he
was.
was in that, he was in The Holiday and a few others, but he never quite hit big and he was never quite a leading man. And I think there's a reason for that because I just don't think despite the fact that he's clearly a very talented actor, he's just not got that leading man vibe. And when I was watching this, I was just like, he's lacking something, which
Yeah,
sounds harsh, but I think
I
it's the
agree.
truth.
No, I agree. I think he was like, unfortunately, go back to the comparison. Keanu Reeves did that dumbfounded,
Mhm,
getting in, like accepting the world so good.
mhm.
I mean, it's Keanu Reeves' face; he always looks dumbfounded, bless him. But for some reason, just Rufus Sewell just seemed to like, yeah, he seemed to not be able to grasp the character too well. He fitted into it towards the end. I agree with
Exactly, I
that.
agree with you. Yeah,
But
yeah.
but yeah, the whole shock and awe of the beginning of it, where he's got a woman on the floor and she's got a spiral cut out of her, and he's trying to fit, and he never seemed, it never like he never seemed too upset about what was going on or too in danger or anything like that. It was
Mhm.
always just one note with him, and
Yeah, and
it
it's
just
weird sometimes it is like that intangible thing because he's objectively a better actor, I think, than Keanu Reeves. But Keanu Reeves is, for whatever reason, I mean, part of it he's very handsome, but then Saul's got like a handsome dude as well. It's just he has that movie star something, that intangible movie star something where you put them on the screen. I'm just like, yep, that is a leading man right there. And sometimes it is very hard to explain why. It just is. It just is.
yeah.
And he, for whatever reason, doesn't have it. And it's all the more noticeable, I think, whenever William Hurt shows up on screen as Inspector Frank Bumstead, because whenever he's on screen, I always think he adds gravitas, like that genuine noir edge. And he actually brings like that dry wit that I think the movie needs, and I think the lead performance requires, but you don't get from him. So it's
Yeah.
just like every time I'm just like William Hurt is on screen, I'm just like, I kind of wish there was more William Hurt in this film, to be honest.
Yeah, he went out in a pony way as well, bless him. I like they found Shell Beach and it was basically just
Mm.
the edge of the city. I appreciate all of that. But then for him to just get sucked out into space was a bit,
Yeah, it was a little bit
yeah,
of a disappointment.
yeah. What did you make of Richard O'Brien as Mr. Hand, who, by the way, was the role was written for? Alex Proyas always wanted Richard O'Brien as Mr. Hand.
I can understand it because he's just an inherently weird cat, so he seems like a natural fit for
Yeah,
this.
but I wouldn't make him the overarching villain. I wouldn't see him as that
Mhm, mhm.
villain. So to make him the real bad guy seemed a bit off to me.
Well, the
But
thing
I
is,
enjoy him in this
again,
role. Yeah,
I think it's slightly undersold because again, if you want to, I'm going to compare it to the Matrix again. He's about as close as we get to Agent Smith in the
yeah,
Matrix, and obviously the narrative for Smith runs over three movies, but in the end, he kind of gets almost too involved in the Matrix and too connected to humanity and becomes this like outlier. I think there is a kind of potential narrative strand to this movie when he gets John's memories,
yeah.
that he becomes more attached to humanity. And again, I think it's something they hint at. And I think with a better written movie, I think it makes, rather than him being like the head honcho, like Mr. Book, I think Mr. Hand would have this almost kind of duality where he's tracing humanity, but at the same time, he's kind of like, falling for that kind of sense of individuality, which comes through the injection. But I think it's like ever so slightly hinted at, but quickly dissipates into the background, sadly.
I also think as well with that whole injection thing, it was a bit of style over substance. Like, look at this. We're injecting memories into people, which
Yeah.
great. Okay, you're injecting memories into people. But how are you injecting John Murdoch's memories when he didn't get the memories? Okay,
Mhm,
because
mhm.
he didn't get the full injection and he has amnesia. But you've now had that injection and now you're getting his fresh memories. Every time
I,
he's done something after the injection, even after
mhm.
Mr. Hand's injection, you're getting those memories. No.
I guess like the idea is up until a certain point, everyone had individuality. So I think they kind of again hinted it when he doesn't have the scar on the arm. So
No, I get that, but he had the memory flash of John Murdoch going to the prostitute. So he went to the
oh yeah, of
prostitute.
course, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
then
yeah.
halfway through, he's
Mhm.
getting memory flashes of something John has just done. Not
Yeah.
not old not old memories of
No, I
John where
got you. I got you.
he
New
went to meet
ones.
he met his wife at the
Mhm,
the pier, which were a
mhm,
random place to meet your wife, but okay. But then things John has just done after
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
injection, he's had the memory go, oh, John's by here now. How does that work?
I have no idea. What it ends up being is something of a Deus Ex Machina where they can just keep putting Mr. Hands in the same location as John. They don't have to explain how he keeps finding him. They're just like, oh, it's memory magic. And that's it. And the big disappointment, of course, is this all kind of builds up theoretically towards some like, mythical showdown between John and Mr. Hands. And then once they finally have that showdown, it's so underwhelming.
Yes, it
Like,
really is.
all these fucking strangers, they've all got these knives. So you think, oh, they're going to be dope with knives. He immediately gets disarmed by John, who's just a dude. Let's be clear at this point. He doesn't use any of his like telepathic tuning magic. He just blocks the stabbing. And I was just like, man, was that it? Was that it? You get like the big showdown at the end with Mr. Book, of course, which is all kind of tuning and superpowers and goes very
Yeah.
matrixy. But when Mr. Hands catches up to him, it's basically just a brawl. It's just,
That
and it's a
went
really, really bad one. I was like, is that it? And then even at the end, where he walks through the door after he's kind of recreated the world in his image and based on his memories, it's like Mr. Hand's just almost in the background as like a token gesture, and it's like, does he die when the sunlight gets on him? I don't know. Do I care? No. It's very strange.
that whole end battle went full scanners as well. I don't know if you've ever seen scanners,
Oh, I've seen
where
scanners. Yeah.
where it's just we're gonna have a mental battle. So all you've got to do is just stare at the screen like you're constipated, and we'll put everything in after the fact. It's
It
fucking
reminded me
interesting.
so much of Professor X in the X-Men cartoons from the early 90s. Like even the
Yeah,
visual
yeah,
with it like coming out of
yeah.
his head.
He was just missing the fingers to the temple, wasn't he,
He
when he did
was,
it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He could have done with that because at the end they're just kind of standing across from each other. I thought at least there would be like a bit where the force would be pushing them back, but instead they just
Yeah.
stand there like lemons. It reminded me, sadly, if nothing else, of the Schwartz battle from Spaceballs, which is never a good thing when you're trying to take your
No.
movie
Yeah, yeah,
seriously.
yeah.
But yeah, and that is ultimately one of the major issues with this film. Like it looks cool. We mentioned, the problems with the script, but like you said, like the action set pieces just basically fall short. None of them are particularly compelling.
What's
Like the last one, like kind of takes a swing for the fences. It looks okay, but nothing really jumps off the page, sadly.
what's the gyro captain doing in this as well?
Oh yeah, yeah, I noticed that as
Bruce Spence,
Mr. Yeah, Bruce
Mr.
Spence.
Mr. Wall.
Mr. Watt. It was weird because when I saw him, the first thing I thought of was like, that's the alien dude from Star Wars. What's the third one? Revenge of the Sith. He has like a very brief role in that movie as an alien, but it's still, even though he's covered in prosthetics, it's still clearly him. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, but he was also in like all the Mad Max films, of course. But he,
Yeah,
like
he was
again, he looks the part, but he doesn't do much. The weirdest
no,
one's the fucking kid. What's the point in that
which
kid?
was played by two siblings, a boy and a girl.
Oh, really?
Yes. Boy and a girl.
That
I think they
kid
were
was
twin siblings.
utterly pointless. I was like, like how many of those like videos have you seen? They even make a joke about in The Simpsons where you just see this little dude and they're like, oh, he's going to do something cool soon, and he just never does something cool. There's a chase
Yeah,
sequence at the end where basically John is hanging and he's ready to be killed. He has a knife. He puts the knife in the ground and bites him instead. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? This is so
it
weird.
felt like they wanted to go full Cenobite, where
Mm-hmm.
that kid was the most ruthless one who probably had skinned bodies in his, I want to say, cubicle or wherever he,
Wherever he's chilling, yeah.
yeah, because they built him up to nothing. It was really like the best he did was all of a sudden have really sharp, pointy teeth and tried to bite John's hand off when he was hanging on the edge.
Yeah, I just feel like there's like additional scenes missing. Because in fairness, I mean, this film is like what 100 minutes long. Usually we're like that's plenty. This movie could have done with an extra
Mm.
15-20 minutes for
Yeah,
sure. And it's
yeah,
a shame because again, the stuff that works is really cool. Like, there's no way Christopher Nolan didn't see this film because some of the, like the tuning when you finally see it and you get an idea for what it means, it's very Inception-y, for lack of a better term. Like
yes,
the
yeah.
bit where like the two people at the dinner table and suddenly the room stretches out and all their clothes change. I was just like, that bit was awesome. I still didn't really know what was going on at that point, but
You know,
retrospectively, I was like, that was fucking cool.
you know what ticked me off about that whole scene was Keith Sutherland's weird line where he says, "And the rich get richer." Oh well, no, mate, that's not what happened because you've turned poor people rich. The rich
Yeah,
didn't get richer. I don't understand why you said that. They were poor and you've made them rich.
his
Like,
whole role in this film is very strange. If anything, when you have that moment at the end when John gets all the kind of memories implanted in him, like
yeah,
of the strangers, and they're all being delivered to him by Kiefer Sutherland. I was almost relieved just to see Kiefer Sutherland looking like Kiefer Sutherland and delivering lines like Kiefer
yeah,
Sutherland instead of
yeah.
being this weird,
He had a
breathy kind of Nazi scientist.
with a wonky eye, yeah.
What was the point in the eye?
I don't know. That's right. So I wasn't making that up. He had a wonky eye, didn't he?
I was convinced it got worse as the movie got on. At first, it looked like he was just kind of half closing one of his eyes,
Yeah,
but then there were sequences at the end, like there's the sequence when they're trying to get to the beach. It's one of the better sequences in the film. It's very Silent Hills crossed with the Truman Show, and they're on the boat and they keep running into these weird dead ends, and he's basically delivering an exposition dump for all intents and purposes, and his eye is like taped down at that point, and it almost looks kind of gruesome. I'm pretty sure it doesn't look like that at the start of the film, but
yeah.
again, as to the reason for that, I have no idea.
Do you think they were hinting as well and telling us? Well, I know they were trying to tell us what was going on with everything in the film, but when he first meets, and we haven't mentioned her yet, Jennifer Connelly, who is still beautiful, by the way, but
Although,
when he
albeit the least convincing singer in movie history, I just don't
yeah,
buy her as a singer
well,
at all.
so there's two versions of that. Sorry, I'll get into the singing in a sec.
Cool.
But when she has a missed call from him, and then she
Mhm.
goes to see him in his weird. He's a psychiatrist, but that
Mhm.
psychiatrist office looks like he's just torturing people anyway.
Yeah, it's
And
mental.
he's over the maze
Mhm.
with the rats. Was that maze meant to be the Dark City? Like I don't know if they were
I
hinting
see
at
what you mean.
yeah
Like it is kind of a hint at what it, because the movie, like the city itself is very Terry Pratchett flat Earth stuff. Like the only thing
Yeah,
it's missing is a giant turtle on the bottom, like
yeah,
kind of keeping it all up. So it was very evocative, and like the actual aesthetic of the city in space is very cool. I just wish they'd explained it a little bit more, just a
yes. No,
little bit more.
I totally agree. Going back to her singing. So
Hmm.
in the theatrical cut, they
Hmm.
dub her singing voice.
Oh, okay.
The studio wanted her dubbed,
Hmm.
but Alex Proyas didn't. So in the theatrical cut, it's her singing.
Okay. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. In the director's cut, it's her singing.
In a director's cut. Sorry, I said theatrical twice
Yeah,
today.
yeah, yeah.
In the theatrical cut,
Hmm.
it's dubbed. In the director's cut, the
Well, it's
director's
not.
cut is the one without any. So the director's cut has no Kiefer Sutherland narration at the beginning.
Yeah,
None.
yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, okay.
So there's absolutely no Kiefer Sutherland talking at the beginning of the film.
Oh, in that case, maybe I did watch because I watched the version where Kiefer Sutherland has a very brief voiceover at the start of the film, but that's the
Yeah,
only voiceover for the entire film.
yeah. So that is they put that in so he could explain the strangers a little bit because
Yeah, yeah,
they
yeah,
didn't want
yeah.
people getting confused. So if you watch the theatrical cut, the director's cut, I'm getting these confused now. If you watch the director's cut, there is no introduction from Kiefer
Mhm.
Sutherland. You just you fall straight into the bathroom scene blind.
Okay, okay.
No explanation about what's going on, and it's her singing. So I think the voice that you heard then was the dubbed version. I think you may
Yeah, it
have
would have
watched
been
the
the dub
theatrical
version
cut.
then.
Yeah, yeah.
But even that, like, it's just her performance, and she's good in this film. I say she's good, and I mean, I love her. She is one of the most beautiful women to possibly have
Yeah.
ever lived. I don't actually think she looks particularly great in this movie. I don't know what they do to her. Like, she doesn't look.
I don't know
And
if
when
it's
I
her
say
or if it's the weird
it's,
1920s, 40s, 60s, 90s
yeah, yeah, yeah,
outfit they're trying to give her.
don't get me wrong, it's relative. Like she still looks amazing because you literally couldn't not make her look amazing.
Yeah.
But by her standards, I was like, it feels like they've gone out of a way to make her look a little bit ordinary by her own standards. And she certainly isn't convincing as a singer. And I think she gives quite a bizarre performance for the majority of the film. Again, I think she does warm up towards the end. If anything, I think she looks her best, and I think she looks her most comfortable at the very end of the movie, which is incredibly Truman-esque, when they're basically on the outside of the city and they're on the pier. And that looks
Yeah.
almost exactly the same as, you think of like the very last shot of the Truman Show, when he basically keeps going up with the boat until he hits the edge of the world. It looks
Yeah.
exactly the same. It's almost uncanny. When they're having that talk there, and basically they're just, despite the bizarre surroundings, are just interacting like normal human beings. She suddenly seems a lot more convincing. She looks a lot more comfortable. Whereas the rest of the movie, where she's dealing with possibly the confusion of just not really knowing what's going on, I think she wears it on her face a little bit, sadly.
And I think she doesn't have to be in love with him or like she's worried about him because by
Mhm.
then, I don't know when they erased her memories, but obviously they did because
Well, that's the
she
other thing. It's like, how deep do you want to go into this in terms of was she the same person the day before, all this other nonsense? Like I said, I think all these concepts around identity and this idea of a human soul is really interesting. It's just never dug into. It's just kind of like they float the idea. That's it.
yeah,
They just float
yeah.
the idea, and then they just leave it to you to be like, that's quite interesting, right? Because narratively speaking, we're not going to deal with this at all. We just haven't got the time, apparently.
I mean, if one thing, I'd like him to explain how I know we'll jump into the end, but how the end works. Is he just now, is he God? Is he just gonna keep shaping the city in his own image? Like he can make it bigger now. He can create Shell Beach, apparently, with water in space. Where
I
does the
mean,
water come from?
again, how similar is it to the end of the Matrix,
Yeah.
where basically, Neo gets the power over the Matrix. You think he's killed Agent Smith, and then he has that phone call at the end, which is basically the same as him having that conversation, John having that conversation at the end, at the end of the pier, where it's basically, you have more of a visual representation in this film of his ultimate powers. But basically, at the Matrix, he has that, conversation on the phone where he's talking about, oh, we're in charge now, blah, blah, blah. And then he flies off into the sky. And it's just like, it's basically the same ending. And just one last similarity, and I will end it there. I couldn't believe the phone call between Kiefer Sutherland's character, the Doctor, and John, because basically he's telling him, it's like, you have to act now, and he's telling him like the agents are coming. It's almost exactly the same as the office sequence from the first Matrix films, like to the point where I was just like, shit, they must have seen this. That can't just be a coincidence. There are so many coincidences I'm willing to just accept as just one of those things, but that phone call sequence in particular, I'm just like, dude, that's like it's the same sequence. It's the same fucking sequence. It's crazy. So I'm still every so often I start that little wobble where I'm just like, maybe the Wachowskis did see this because I think they already had the idea from the Matrix, and a lot of that was derived from anime and stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised if they saw this movie and threw in an extra couple of scenes. If they were just like, well, that's pretty cool. We'll get that in our movie.
Yeah. I mean, I really don't like poetic license and all that. I kind of
Mm-hmm.
understand. But it's eerily similar, isn't it? In
Oh,
places.
times
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
crazy. It's
yeah.
crazy. But as I said, it is hard to shake when you're watching this film. It's like, oh, it's like The Matrix, but not as good. And like you said, The Matrix is amazing. So we're talking, it's definitely not a five-star movie. It's still good, but it is very hard to shake
It
that feeling when you're
leads
watching it.
it leads to a question that I'm asking now, but when was this? 1998. So I watched
Mhm,
it in 99, 2000. So we're talking 17, 18-year-old Rob asked when I
mhm.
first watched this film, would it have benefited from being an action film, action set pieces? Would it have
Yeah.
benefited from, I don't know, like actually attack? I don't know, give him some guns or something. Have proper Matrix style action
Well,
in this
that's
film.
literally what the Matrix is. All right, what if you had this film plus action plus
Plus
a
kung
better
fu.
plus a better script? It's like that. That is literally what the Matrix is.
Yeah,
It's unbelievable. So, I mean, it'd be interesting to see how I'd felt about this film if I'd never seen The Matrix or if I'd watched
yeah.
it in 1998, because I can imagine this would have felt so much more cutting edge. It's a shame actually, and I think one of the reasons it's become a cult movie, obviously, but one of the reasons it hasn't lived on in the memory, or maybe one of the reasons that nobody really talked about it, because it was still only a year removed. I know I mentioned earlier, how much it would have benefited if it was released the same year as The Matrix. This was still only released a year before. It's basically the same film, but it goes to show how much, by the mainstream standards, it had just been forgotten. Because I can't remember anybody bringing this up in 1999 at all, despite
No.
the striking
And
similarities.
I wonder,
And
well, I definitely wouldn't have put the similarities together then.
well,
Uh,
well, like I said, I hadn't seen it, but I think one of the reasons is that this movie, and I mentioned earlier the fact that it lacks that, quote unquote cool factor, which The Matrix had, is that this film has one foot in the kind of schlocky noir nonsense of the early to mid 90s. Those movies that we've covered on this podcast, The Shadow, The Phantom. There is a hint of that. All those movies we said, they took the wrong lessons when they basically decided they were going to try and recreate Tim Burton's Batman. They took all the kind of serial 80s and serial stuff from like the 30s, 40s, and 50s, but they forgot to act the kind of dark and the cool element which made the movie truly stand out, and
yeah,
just kind of went, oh, we're just going to have the schlock ostensibly. This movie kind of has its cake and eats it, because it has that schlock, and obviously it's a little bit darker, but it definitely still has one foot in early to mid 90s cinema. And I think one of the reasons that it perhaps hasn't aged as well as its obvious comparison, if nothing else, nothing ages this movie quite like the opening credits. There's something about that font. I feel like
yeah, yeah,
we've seen it in so many movies. The one it reminded me of most was Spawn, bizarrely. But
yeah.
as soon
No,
as soon
I
as I
totally
saw the
agree with that.
font, I was just like, oh no, I'm not sure if I'm going to like this, but it's better than the font would have suggested.
Let's uh let's play the budget box office game.
Oh, go for it.
Okay. What's the budget of this film?
Oh, that is tricky. Before advertising and marketing and stuff, I assume like the production budget, blah, blah, blah. 35 million?
Oh, 27 million.
27 million. It's
Before
good
I
looking film for 27 million.
before I ask you we're going back to comparison because I will give you the box office in a second.
Okay.
What was the budget of The Matrix?
It was not as high as you'd think. It's higher
But
than that.
it's
I'm going to
higher than
say
that, yeah.
45,
63 million.
63. Yeah, that feels
Okay.
about right. I was lowballing, sorry.
Box office.
Oh,
What was
yeah.
the box office of Dark City?
Fuck.
If the budget was 27 million, the box
yeah,
office was
I'm going to say like 12.
27.2.
Oh, okay, okay. So
It just scraped its budget back.
yeah, and it would have obviously lost money because realistically, you have to double your budget, taking
Yeah.
into account, what the cinema takes. And I mean, this might have made money in the long run because it's become something of a cult movie. But yeah, definitely not a hit. Whereas The Matrix, I've got to assume, made close to like 300 million or something.
Oh, nearly. So it's funny you said that it's got to make double its money back. This made reportedly 7 times its production budget back for The Matrix,
Oof.
467.8 million.
And think how much The Matrix made. Like when The Matrix came out, it was the DVD because like 99, 2000 was like peak DVD time when everyone was
Yeah.
like bang into it. It's suddenly gone to the mainstream. The PlayStation 2 had come out, which had a DVD player, was a massive deal. And I was in university in the early 2000s. And I remember anyone who had like a decent TV or if they had a sound system, the DVD was The Matrix. And basically everyone was just like, oh, we're going to skip directly to the hallway sequence with like the music and all the bits are
Yeah.
falling down and go straight into bullet time, blah, 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 blah. This movie would have made an absolute fucking fortune on DVD.
I don't know if we've ever asked, what was your first ever DVD?
Oh, my first ever DVD. It was definitely one of those ones which had like the cardboard cover and the kind of the
Yeah.
black clip
Yeah.
on the side. Do you know, for the life of me, I cannot remember. I think it might have been Lethal Weapon.
So I was still buying VHS back when DVDs came out because to me, I still thought DVDs would be a fad. Like a lot of people, you hear about DVDs be a fad. So
No way, dude. They were so
no,
much
no, no,
better
no,
than
no.
VHS.
Obviously, time told a different
So
tale.
much better than VHS.
But I didn't actually buy my first DVD until 2000,
Okay, yeah.
or I had my first DVD bought for me.
Oh, I didn't have my first DVD until at least then because, like so many other people, my first DVD player was my PlayStation 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did you say your first DVD was? I do
I
apologize.
think it was Lethal Weapon. I think it was
Okay.
Lethal Weapon.
Mine was Frequency.
Wow,
Yes.
that is very of its time, to say the
Yes.
least.
Jim Caviezel and Dennis Quaid. Yeah.
I actually have a bit. Like I've not seen that movie for a long time. I quite liked it. Like
I
when
liked it. I
enough
do
to
want to
for
go
it to be
back.
your first DVD.
I do want to go back and revisit it. So, but did you know they made a TV show about that film?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, okay,
Which
yeah.
I mean, that was just the era where it says, "Oh, this is like a successful idea. We'll just make a TV show of it." The thing is,
Dude,
it is
no,
a
no,
really.
it wasn't the time. It was 2023.
Oh, is it that recent?
Yes.
Jesus Christ. I mean, the thing is, though, I kind of get it because it's a great concept. Like, that's the thing. That movie is fine, but the actual concept behind it is brilliant. You know, like the whole thing where we talk about remake, let it die, leave well alone. Frequency is one of those movies where you're just like, oh, yeah, remake that. Like you could, like, there's a really, really good version. Like that film's not a bad one. It's an okay version of that story. There's a really good story in there somewhere. And obviously somebody making a TV show thought we can get to it. I'd prefer to see the movie version, but yeah, I was not. How many guesses would I've had to get?
You
to
would never have
Frequency?
gotten. Do you know how many guesses you would needed to get Frequency? Every DVD that was ever released.
all
I
the
believe.
guesses, guesses. Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah.
What was I know there's like a weird fact with just because we're talking about the era, the last ever VHS sold in America was History of Violence. I don't know why I always remember that.
Was it?
Yeah, that was like the last ever VHS.
I'm
Certainly
not
in
that I
North
don't trust
America.
you. Not
Don't
that
get
I
me
don't
wrong,
trust you.
there's always weird things like, you always forget. It's like when people talk about consoles and stuff, and they're like, oh, there was never like Mortal Kombat 2 never came out for like, the 8-bit consoles. It's like, no, it did. It came out for the Sega Master System, but only in Brazil. Because for some odd reason, the Master System was massive in Brazil. And it's like popularity ran for years and years.
Which one did you say? Sorry.
History of Violence.
Thank you. So that's me getting confused because I honestly, you said a history of violence.
Mm-hmm.
I heard American History X, and I thought that's not right. That's not right because that was like
right in the bang of
95.
it.
Yeah.
No, American History X. That was late 90s, wasn't it?
I thought it was like 95. It could be 98 now.
I thought it was like 98 or something like that. But anyway, it doesn't really matter.
It does. We demand
Satisfaction.
Satisfaction. 98. No, we demand. Fuck me. Never mind. I can't think of
Never mind.
word,
But anyway,
yeah.
sorry. That is for people listening. They just because I was talking about randomly because bit of a left field subject matter. But yeah, the Master System ended up the Sega Master System. That is the 8-bit competitor to the NES, which failed in most countries, but was a huge hit in Brazil. They ended up getting like ports of Mortal Kombat 2, Street Fighter 2. There are all these like totally unique ports of what we think of as being definitively 16-bit games on an 8-bit console, but stuck only in Brazil. It's absolutely bizarre. But anyway, back to this movie.
So do you know when you were watching this film and you were just getting the hints? Did you question the beginning of the film? He speaks to the hotel manager, and the hotel manager says 3 weeks is 3 weeks. Off you go. And then when the cops come back, it's a black man saying, "I told him 3 weeks is 3." as somebody who's never seen this, and I can't think back to when I first watched it, how what I thought was going on. Did you have a question about that? Did you think,
Well, again, because here we are again, back to the Matrix. I thought it was like the Matrix and the deja vu thing. So in the
okay,
Matrix, there's the whole thing about like,
the
oh,
cat,
I
yeah,
think I saw the same cat. Was it definitely the same cat? Deja vu usually means a glitch in the Matrix. I thought it was just basically another thing that had been ripped off, where it was just showing the uncanniness of the world. I didn't think at that point they were putting like, different memories in different people and all that nonsense. And even the stuff where you find out like aliens, like they're basically like weird bug things, which are using humans as like vessels. Even that is kind of delivered in just a line. So you're like, wait, these flying aliens, the strangers, aren't really the aliens. They're just humans who are given magic flying powers by brain aliens. Like, that feels like a pretty big thing to just be like, in one action sequence, you see a blue alien thing climbing out of a dead dude's head, and you're like, okay, I guess so.
no explanation about that until, like you said, a throwaway line towards the thing. Like these
Yeah.
aliens, they seem parasitic, don't they? They
Yeah,
live
yeah.
enough, yeah.
Yeah, I think
They
Mr.
live,
Hand at one point says, "Oh, we use human bodies as vessels." But of
yeah.
course, the big narrative in terms of what they're using humans for is about like this look, this search for the human soul. So they just throw that in as like a throwaway line. I'm just like, that's a pretty big deal. But I was like, okay, say they are using humans as vessels, and they're like you say parasitic brain aliens. Why can they fly? Why can they fly? It's
Because
cool. The way they fly is totally unique and it looks ace. And those like shots of them flying across the city where they're just basically just moving horizontally, I was just like, that looks ace. But like so much
I'm gonna
of
make a
his
joke that
movie,
the dead bodies were hollowed out. Literally, it was just skin.
it was just skin. Maybe it
Yeah.
was that. But I think it's just another one of those like disappointing aspects of this film where I just wish there'd been a bit more of an explanation. It's similar to the score. Like when I was watching this film, I was like, why isn't this film hitting in the same way? And again, I'm basically in my head, I'm like, as the Matrix. I'm like, because the score's not as good. I was like, it's quite a boring score. But then I looked up, it was by Trevor Jones. He did Last of the Mohicans, he did Labyrinth, he's done like 100 other movies. Great scores. This film kind of falls flat. But yeah, I think fundamentally a lot of the issues come back to Alex Proyas, who's just like, I just want the aesthetic up on screen. And in fairness, it shouldn't come as a surprise because he has one of the strangest fucking IMDb's of any director ever. Like basically all of his films, and this isn't the definitive list, but this is the majority of them. I, Robot, knowing the Nicolas Cage film, if you haven't
Yeah.
seen that,
Yeah.
that film is fucking bananas as well. The Crow, Gods of fucking Egypt, and basically that is it. It's a wild IMDb.
It's music videos like scattered everywhere else for him, bless him, or a couple of TV
That
shows.
does
But
not surprise me. I think
no.
basically the difference between this and The Crow is that he had a few more people to rein him in because obviously, he hadn't directed so many movies at that point. And they were just like, listen, we've got to stay on point in terms of the narrative. So you got all the mood and the kind of gothic flair, which this movie has, but it feels more consistent. Of course, it's easier because despite it being relatively high concept, it's nothing compared to this.
You got
This
you
is
got
the highest of high concepts.
you got to put the time frames in them as well, though. So The Crow
Mhm.
was 94,
Yeah.
and then Dark City was 98, so 4 years later. So it's like, oh, you had a guy die on your last set. All right, we'll give you another
Mhm.
chance. Okay, fine, Dark City. It didn't make that much money, so we're going to put you in director jail for a bit. Do a couple of music videos, and we'll see what happens. 6 years later, 2004, I, Robot. Wicked. Okay, so you've done well with Will Smith. Right. We'll give you a another guy who's making money. We'll give you Nicolas Cage. But then again, 5 years later.
The Knowing did
Uh
surprisingly well. Knowing's one of
Knowing
those
did
weird films.
surprisingly well, but
I went to see that at the cinema.
I saw it at the cinema and then I questioned why I went to the cinema to watch it. But by the way,
I can't think of too many films where I came out of the cinema and I was just like, I have no idea how I feel about that film.
yeah.
No fucking idea.
The production companies probably thought the same thing because they were like, "Oh, you gave us Knowing. All right, your idea about gods in Egypt and then mainly all Australian people, and it's got Gerard Butler. All right, we'll give it to
Everyone's
you.
white as
Yeah,
fuck.
we'll give it. Oh, and Chadwick Boseman randomly.
Oh yeah,
We'll
of
we'll
course.
uh, we'll give it to you. Yeah, 7 years later, 2016, and he did Gods of Egypt in 2016, and everyone's like, no,
That's it. That was it. Yeah,
no.
like you said, like I, Robot, like you said, The Crow was this massive, was a big hit, but it kind of
Yeah,
lived this long life. So like, oh, okay, then this film comes out, it's a bit of a cult following. It's like, oh, okay, and just maybe broke even. But then I, Robot was a big hit. I, Robot was a big fucking hit. So he's back on board, but we're still like, I don't know, man. But his movies are weird, and like you said, it's like Knowing is utterly bizarre, but it did make money again, and you just like it felt like everyone was waiting for him to like completely strike out and be like, we're washing our hands of him. Kind of like, the whole Steven Seagal thing. Like, he was such a douchebag. Nobody wanted to work with him, but he kept making money. And if you make money in Hollywood, people will keep making movies with you, no matter
Yeah.
how much of a fucking asshat you are. But the moment the money stops coming in, they're just like, okay, we can just wash our hands of this fucking guy because he is the worst. And I'm sure Alex Proyas is a lovely guy, but in terms of his directorial storytelling style, it's very hit and miss, to say the least. I mean, this is a lot better than Gods of Egypt, put it that way.
I must enjoy punishment, by the way. I mean, I probably get hard at being waterboarded because I've seen Gods of Egypt twice.
That is insane. That is
Yeah. So
properly insane.
I watched it the first time.
Yeah,
obviously.
okay. That's usually
fine.
where the story ends with Gods of Egypt. Yeah.
But then for some reason it popped up on like Film 4, wherever it was, and it was late tonight, and I'd had a couple of drinks. I thought, was this as bad as I'm telling myself it was? Because I watched it again, and I was like, oh.
I can kind of go on that journey with you where, like you say, you watch a movie and like, that stinks. And then almost like, like you say, you give yourself a couple of years, you've had a couple of drinks. You're like, was it as bad as I thought it was? It couldn't have been that bad. And then next thing you know, you're just like halfway through this movie again going, oh, yeah, this is fucking bad. But you're halfway
I'm
in,
here
you
to
might
tell
as well
you, it's like Egyptian Power Rangers. It's fucking nuts.
I couldn't believe how bad it was. And like, it was one of those movies, they're the worst kind, that looks simultaneously expensive and rubbish.
Yeah.
It's like, there's a lot of money gone. A lot of money has gone in to make this movie look like complete ass. It's like, I watched 15 minutes of, what was the Rock superhero one?
Black Adam.
And I was just like, my God, they spent so much money on this film. It looks like shit. It just looked fucking horrible. If anything, it had a weird, similar golden vibe to it as Gods of Egypt. I'm not saying it's quite as bad as Gods of Egypt, but if anything, actually, if you gave me the option to watch Gods of Egypt or Black Adam, I'd watch Gods of Egypt because at least it's a proper fucking train wreck. I'm just like, I could take some pleasure out of that film, just being like, my God, what the fuck were they thinking? Whereas Black Adam's just like, oh God, it's just a vanity project gone wrong. There's no joy to be taken with Black Adam whatsoever.
No, I mean, he did it to himself though, didn't he? Saying things like, oh, I'm going to save the DCU with this film. And
he took a real swing, didn't he? And he had Superman at the end and that didn't work out, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Fuck's sake. Never mind. Moving on. Speaking of big swings, I mean, the finale to this film, like I said, shame it wasn't explained, but when you see the city in space and the way it tilts, so it's like in the sunlight, I'm like, this looks amazing. It looks cool.
Look good. Yeah.
Even, obviously there are certain things where, it's made in 1999. Some things look better than others, but for the most part, this is a good looking film. Some of the action set pieces are actually the things that kind of fall a little bit short of, I guess, what we'd refer to as modern standards. But for the most part, the artistic design and the set design, Alex Proyas' vision for this film, it shines through for the most part, even 26, 27 years later.
Yeah.
And that image at the end in particular of this city as a spaceship tilting towards the sun, I'm like, that looks great. I just wish I knew what was fucking going on.
Yeah.
Just wish I knew what was going on.
It was so funny as well, because right up at the end, he does all of this. He's and like you said, it tilts and it's tilting to the sun and it looks great. And you've got the water now. It's just floating in space.
Like you said, very Terry Pratchett, very cool.
Yeah. They've got their own atmosphere now. It's absolutely fantastic. He's made all this himself. He knows what he's doing. He's made it.
He's basically become the architect,
but he still walks to the end of the pier and goes to Jennifer Connelly. Where's Shell Beach? Dude, you just fucking made it.
You should know where
Shell Beach.
He spent the whole film looking for, and like I said, those are unequivocally the best parts of the film. When he's looking for Shell Beach, they're the best. Like when he's trying to get on the train, and I love those elements of the film. I wish there was more of that, where it's just weird, where he keeps getting on trains and it won't quite get to where he wants to go. It's almost like a kind of dream sequence, and I love it. And I mentioned when they try and go later and they try and go by boat, and suddenly it feels like Silent Hill, where all of a sudden it's like part of the world is just missing. You're like, what the fuck is going on? I love the mystery to that, but yeah, it just never goes anywhere.
Also, why did Shell Beach become that MacGuffin? There was no hint or anything at the beginning. Like, he's in the taxi and he just goes, oh, how do you get to Shell Beach? And all of a sudden it's like, oh, where's Shell Beach? Why was that the thing all of a sudden? Where's Shell Beach?
Again, maybe it's something we're both missing, but I suspect it's just not written into the script very well, is this idea that it's linked to him inherently as the person he was. I think there is something to that, which just isn't explained very
Yeah.
well.
So the person he was before he became John Murdoch, because his memories
Yeah.
weren't. Well, yeah. So like the kind of at the beginning of the syringe, I'm guessing is the memory erasure part, and then the rest of it is the memories of the new person.
Yeah,
So
he's
because
like
he
the one
shot the
person
memories out.
who has this kind of connection to his past life before they got to the spaceship or whatever that nonsense. And that is somehow linked to his powers and why he is able to tune, or whatever the fuck it's called, like the strangers are. Again, why he's able to do that, I don't know. Again, maybe in a world where we get two, three like follow-ups to this, it all kind of eventually makes sense. But as a one-off movie, I'm just sadly left with a few too many. I don't mind like there being a certain level of ambiguity, but there are just too many things where I'm just like, that should be explained. Like I
Yeah.
just like, if I'm going to care about this, you've got to give me something to latch onto, and there just isn't anything there, sadly.
Do you know the syringe as well?
Mhm.
Do you know when it does that cool thing
Oh
as it
yeah, you know, when you
extends?
see at the end and they kind of like do a close up and you see it kind of
Yeah.
extending and stuff. Yeah,
Do you know how big they made that syringe, that needle
it
to
must have
make?
been massive.
It was a yard long.
I mean, it looked cool. It
Yeah,
looked
but can you
cool.
imagine? Can you imagine Kiefer Sutherland holding a yard-long needle against
Yeah.
somebody?
It would have looked inherently quite funny on set,
Yeah,
but yeah, another visual trick which looks very cool on screen. As you said, like for all of our criticisms, this movie largely looks great, and a lot of this stuff does work. This is a fun watch. It's just a kind of quietly infuriating one, which is made all the more infuriating by the existence of the Matrix, sadly, which
yeah,
is no fault of this movie's, or the directors, but it is what it is. If you watch it in 2026, there's no escaping it.
yeah,
Should we move on to Rob's take, in which Rob picks out something innocuous that most folk wouldn't have noticed, but inexplicably drove him crazy.
yeah. The stranger's weakness. I mean, they're psychic gods. They can fly. They all this power and all that until you hit them with a stick.
Yeah,
Yeah, just
like bugs, I guess. Or,
yeah.
or if they get slightly wet, they're fucked.
And I did have, but I've already mentioned it, the memory syringes as well. I just didn't understand the memory
There are
syringes.
there are a lot of things you could pick holes in this film.
Yeah,
Favorite scene for me, I referenced it just a moment ago, but it really is the train sequence. It kind of sells the oddness and scale of the problem and the underlying weirdness, and that was when I was kind of most happy in this world in terms of not understanding what's going on, when it's kind of everything around you is inherently weird and the character's aware of it, rather than just things are happening and I don't know what's going on. In that moment, I'm like, oh, I get it. He's trying to get here, but the world won't allow him. In that moment, I didn't care for the reasoning. I love the idea of like you get on trains and it's like, well, I'm at this station. Why can't I get onto the express? Oh, that was the express. And it's just confusing and maddening. And, I'm allowing dream logic to take control at that point. So, yeah, I thought that was the most successful part of the film for sure.
I
And it
no,
looked
I
great as
really
well. Looked great.
I really enjoyed that scene and the random walking into the automat scene because again, apparently there's a cafe which is just vending machines.
Yeah, that's a German thing. And again, when I
Yeah,
was watching it, I was like, do they have those in America? And of course, retrospectively, like, well, that doesn't matter because they could have taken it from Germany. And it looks great because it's like empty inside.
yeah.
And you just have those two cops, and you can obviously buy food from these little windows, and it looks unique and awesome. It doesn't look American because it isn't. But
Those cops came in, sat down at the very first table by the door, but when they stopped John Murdoch, they had food in front of them. How the
that's a
fuck
good
does that
shout.
happen?
That should have been in Rob's steak. That should have been
Yeah,
Rob's steak.
yeah. But
So,
my actual favorite scene is the moment it becomes like a noir Dragon Ball Z fight directed by Guillermo del Toro, the final tuning showdown.
yeah.
I kind of enjoy that. It's when he finally unlocks his powers thanks to breathless Kiefer Sutherland. He goes full psychic gunslinger. I feel like it's the film that's most operatic. You got two men throwing invisible mind bullets at each other while skyscrapers twist and warp and explode around them. It's what the film could have been if you had more action set pieces. I think
Yeah.
it just needed to lean a bit more into that. If you're not going to give us answers to these weird questions you're asking and uh, this mood that you're giving us,
Mhm.
give us more things blowing up, and
Yeah, and
I'd
I
be happy.
think, and again, I think that sequence makes more sense if he is kind of learning his powers as he goes. But instead, you
Yeah,
have one or two sequences where he like lifts a book, and that's fine. But then at the end, he goes full kind of Super Saiyan, and it's just like he's literally gone from 0 to 60 in like 0.1 seconds. Like you said, it's cool in and of itself. But I was like, this feels like a big jump up. This
well,
feels like a big jump
the
up.
way they explain it is the fact that like he's learned it all. He's had all his
Of
memories,
course,
so
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
get that, and
Yeah, yeah. Me
that is
too.
a bit of a cop out way. I do like what
Mhm.
you're saying,
No,
having
no, no.
learned it as he's going through,
I
but
absolutely agree. Like
yeah,
they do explain that, But I think, like you said, I just think it's a great excuse to have at least a handful of decent action set pieces along the way. Him kind of finding his way and like each one kind of escalating in terms of his powers. But we don't really get that, sadly.
Yeah.
In terms of Oscar season, in which we hand out 3 Oscars and 3 Razzies in categories of our choosing. Number one, the Oscar for Best Matrix movie that isn't The Matrix goes to, you guessed it, Dark City. Two, the Oscar for surprisingly cool flying goes to The Strangers. Mentioned it earlier, there's nothing else quite like it in terms of them just basically floating through the city. It just looks
Yeah.
cool, I think.
They'll be winning a couple of awards,
Yeah,
I
I wouldn't be
imagine, on
surprised.
this one. Yeah.
And the Oscar for most influential yet largely forgotten movie goes to Dark City. We mentioned, the obvious one being The Matrix, but even Nolan's Inception movie. I feel like this felt like a lot of people have gone and watched this film. A lot of people who make movies have like cribbed from this film a huge amount, and most people don't realize because nobody went to see this fucking movie. And it's largely been forgotten. When was the last time Dark City was on TV? Like ever?
Yeah. It feels like a film for like last film before film 4 shuts off film.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%. That kind
Yeah.
of you didn't realize that there was another like because usually it's like, oh well, the movies are done for the day because film four kind of runs usually until 2 o'clock in the morning. But if because of timing issues with other films, once in a blue moon, a movie will literally start at 1:30, quarter to 2 in the morning on film four.
Yeah.
It'll be Dark City, and no
Yeah.
one fucking knows. 100%.
And then the next day is The Cube. That's the kind of films that they
Yeah,
put
yeah,
in.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it'd be a great
Uh,
double feature. This and the Cube.
yeah. Right. For me, the Oscar for the best use of a city that's actively gaslighting you goes to the city itself.
Yeah.
Every street, every building, every night, the city is a character, a maze, a prison, and a psychological experiment. It's the most oppressive urban environment since Gotham, and it doesn't even have the courtesy to stay still.
Yeah, it's like an Escher painting, but all the stairs go where you expect them to. Only every building's slightly different each time.
Because what's interesting is I don't think they're erasing everybody's memories overnight.
No, they
So
they basically take in turns, I think.
yeah, that's fine. So somebody's waking up going, right, wasn't Main Street outside my door?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because last night Main Street was outside my door, but now I got a canal next to me. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, it's weird because, like you said, I think they move around people's memories, but it's almost like there's like a weird reset where everybody just, again, it's one of those things which isn't explained very well. Like even when they go to sleep at midnight, there's a sequence at the end where, like during the kind of chase sequence, I guess we'll call it for lack of a better term, where everyone goes to sleep and then the tuning kind of starts and finishes and the chase is still going. So it's like,
Yeah.
wait, how long is the tuning? Like, is it 12 hours or is it 12 minutes? I mean, I don't fucking understand it.
It feels like days. Like all the work they've got to do, it feels like days. But that doesn't matter because these people are asleep, so they could be off for fucking days. They might
But then, like you
actually.
said, the one time it feels like you're kind of experiencing it in close to real time. The chase sequence basically just happens, and then everyone wakes up. And I was just like, "Oh, is the tuning actually just really short?"
Yeah.
Why does nobody question, like you said, the fact that it's always night? But yeah, again, I just wish there was a bit more of an explanation for stuff like that. It's just never made apparent, sadly.
The Oscar for the best performance delivered through labored breathing goes to Keith Sutherland. I
Yeah.
mean, he talks like he's narrating his own panic attack. Every line sounds like it's escaping his lungs against their will.
Yes, John, you need to listen to me immediately. It's like, oh God, dude, just listening to you stresses me out.
Yeah. And finally, the Oscar for the best villains who look like Victorian undertakers goes to The Strangers. They're pale, they're bald, they're whispering, they're floating, they're wearing outfits stolen from a funeral home. They're terrifying in the exact way you expect a hive mind of psychic goths to be.
Again, that direct comparison. It's like they're interesting, they're weird, they're just not cool. Like you look at the agents, they're interesting, they're weird, but they're also cool. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. The Razzie for least convincing role as a singer goes to Jennifer Connelly as Emma. You can make the argument beyond the whole director's cut versus non-director's cut, theatrical cut, is that maybe she was only doing it for a day. Maybe, yesterday she hadn't been singing, maybe it'd be someone else. But yeah, I just don't think she's particularly convincing in this film, and especially when they're trying to sell her as a singer, I just don't buy it. The Razzie for terrible use of knives goes to The Strangers. Weapons of choice, supposedly, but Mr. Hand and Mr. Book are pretty pony with them whenever they end up using them, sadly. And the Razzie for ultra-friendly prostitute, who invariably gets killed, goes to Melissa George as May, who looks fan-fucking-tastic in this film, I might add.
Yeah.
But it's never really explained why she's being so helpful to John. She's just kind of, I get the idea she's a prostitute, but it feels like more than that. She's going out of her way to help him out.
I kind of felt like she just saw an easy mark because when he leaves, she was like, damn. So it was like she saw easy money at that point.
Maybe,
I
maybe.
think that's what it was hinting.
I
Yeah.
mean, she, like I said, she doesn't get much screen time, doesn't get a huge amount to do, but she's famous from Home and Away and the movie. Remember the movie Triangle?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was in that as well. But yeah, absolute smoke show. Very good in
Uh,
a brief part, but hey, oh.
the Razzie for the most confusing urban geography goes to the city layout.
Yeah,
Streets move, buildings shift, maps are useless. Google Maps would just say good luck.
good luck. Yeah, that's all you're gonna
Yeah.
get.
The Razzie for the least helpful police investigation goes to Inspector Bumstead's investigation. I mean, he's trying his best, but he's basically doing detective work in a funhouse. It just doesn't
Yeah,
seem to.
it's
Yeah.
gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough.
And finally, the Razzie for the most dramatic use of a spiral motif. Literally everything. The spirals are everywhere walls, floors, Murdoch's forehead. It's like the production designer got stuck in a hypnotist's office.
Yeah, and I don't even really get the spirals, truth be told.
No.
No, they feel like they're a big part of it. I'm just
Again,
like, wait, why
it's
were they a big deal? I
I
don't.
think it's and it links to the maze as well. It's literally just the Dark City is the spiral.
Yeah, yeah.
Why they're filling in this motif in but not explaining it is very
Yeah, like I
yeah.
say, if it's a bit better explained, like you'd come
I
away and
mean
go,
to be
"Oh, well, there's
fair,
this kind of visual motif linked to these themes," but and it's there if you kind of really stretch for it, but it feels tenuous, I think.
it's one of those ones as well. We do sound like we're shitting on this film. I like this film.
Yeah, I like
I
this film.
enjoyed it. Yeah. I just
Yeah,
want
it's
to say
just,
that.
but it has,
I want to
but it
go
has
on
loads
record
of.
saying,
I think it's one of those films though where, despite liking it, it's like I find it particularly infuriating because I think there's a really good movie in here, a
yeah,
genuinely really good
yeah,
movie,
yeah,
but it just never quite comes to the surface. Which is like, if anything, or like if you watch like a 3-star throwaway movie, like whatever, you're like, oh yeah, it was fine. It's exactly what I expected it to be. No big deal. Or if it's just a complete blowout and like, oh, it's rubbish. This film is good, but it could have been brilliant. It just,
yeah.
hence why it's like all these holes you end up picking. It becomes more infuriating because you just like you feel like just a couple more tweaks to the script, slightly longer runtime, arguably a change of leading man. They could have gone from decent movie to an exceptional one. But hey ho. Any alternative titles to this film?
Yeah, I mean, prepare for a lot of like different versions of Dark, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But Argentina, City in Darkness,
Yeah.
Brazil, City of Shadows,
Mm.
French Canada, Obscure City,
Yeah.
Czech Republic, Death Head.
No.
Yeah. It's interesting as well what you said about the credits at the beginning, the title,
Mhm.
because this must have been released as a double pack in Finland because it's Dark City and Spawn.
Oh yeah, yeah, perfect. Like they've literally
Yeah,
just gone. They've got the same. They use the same fonts. Let's put them in a double pack together.
yeah.
I can totally imagine that. That feels like a classic DVD combo from like 1999. Watch Spawn and Dark City, two disappointing movies.
Uh, what did Portugal, Mysterious City,
Yeah.
and Vietnam, Shadow City.
I'm sticking with Dark City. I think Dark City is the best of
Yeah,
the bunch. Any
yeah.
facts for this film?
Yeah, we had it. Let's ones that we haven't already said. We've said about the rooftop. There were many deliberate anachronisms to give the viewer a feeling of confusion about the time period of the film.
Hmm.
Uh, New Line Cinema forced Alex Proyas to include the opening narration by Keith Sutherland, which gives away several plot reveals. Alex Proyas objected to it, saying it was unnecessary, and he subsequently removed the narration from his director's cut.
I think they should have removed it because I was like, they provide a huge amount of information, which then feels like tenuous for like a good like 45 minutes to an hour. So you're just like, you
Yeah,
keep coming back to it, go, is this because of aliens? It would have been so much better if it all just came as a reveal. So yeah, I'm
yeah.
totally in support of the director's cut.
Roger Ebert called this movie the best film of 1998. He recorded a special audio commentary track for the DVD release of the movie.
I mean, listen, I often agree with Roger Ebert, but that is a wild one.
Yeah. The filmmakers cite 1940s to 50s film noir, particularly The Maltese Falcon, and the
Yeah.
sci-fi features Metropolis, The Twilight Zone, and Akira as an influence on the film.
Yeah, ticking all the boxes. Kira's an interesting shot, though.
Yeah. Alex Proyas wanted the film to look real, not highly theatrical like Tim Burton's Batman, which he mentioned by name. He wanted to feel like a documentary that had been filmed in this real world. As much naturalistic lighting as possible was used, even though the entire film takes place at night. Street lamps were used as much as possible for the exterior scenes.
Well, that is one thing you'd have to. For the most part, this movie looks amazing. And we mentioned earlier, like the big action set piece at the end. It isn't a direct lift from Akira by any stretch, but it does feel quite anime-esque.
Yeah,
100%.
Melissa George's movie debut, as it
No, there
goes.
we go.
Yeah. All of the fish in Neptune's kingdom are Oscars. I don't know what that means.
All the fish. Well, when he goes into the cinema, it's like Neptune's Kingdom, isn't it? That's the
Yeah.
cinema, the start of the film, which looks really cool. So all the fish
In
in
Neptune's
Neptune's.
kingdom are Oscars.
Yeah, I can't quite put that together.
No.
That's going to bother me.
The film bounced between a number of studios, mostly due to disagreements they had with how Alex Proyas envisioned the final film and the specific ideas he had for it.
I can get it. A lot of people are like, listen, we got to refine this at least a little bit. Jesus Christ, we got to rein this in. This is fucking insane.
The metallic cage Dr. Schreiber is wearing near the end of the film was inspired, as
Okay.
was the character's name, by Memoirs of My Nervous Illness by a German judge, Daniel Paul Schreiber, who suffered from dementia precocious. So there you go, German judge.
Well, that is a perfect encapsulation of his directorial and aesthetic style because that looks cool. And if you hear that, you're like, oh, that's a cool nod. But when I was watching the movie, I was like, why is he suddenly in a cage? Why the fuck is he like right at the end of the film? None of that for the rest of the film. He's just cutting about absolutely fine. And then all of a sudden he's put into that weird cage thing. And I'm just like, what the hell's that in aid of? It's in aid of a reference to a movie that he loves. And just for it to be a cool aesthetic nod, which 99.9% of the people watching it will just not understand. So when you're watching it, it just seems weird. That's how I felt about it anyway.
Right, I'm calling bullshit on this last fact, okay?
Okay.
We already talked about the hotel manager, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
The hotel manager changing from a white guy to a black guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Ving Rhames is seen in a shot at around 10 minutes in the movie. He is the hotel manager, but he is not on the credits. That hotel manager was not Ving
That
Rhames.
wasn't Ving Rhames. I would have
No.
noticed Ving Rhames, man.
Same.
In 1998, this is like around when he was doing like Mission Impossible and stuff. This is like
Yeah.
what, like a couple of
Well,
years
Mission
before Mission
Impossible
Impossible
was
2.
what, 95?
Well,
So
this is what 4 years after Pulp Fiction. There's no fucking way that like if I go back and I find out that's Ving Rhames, I'm going to be furious. I'm going to be fucking
same will I.
furious.
Yeah.
No, there's no way that was Ving Rhames.
No.
That feels like one of those, like someone's been accidentally racist when they referred to like Samuel L. Jackson on TV as Lawrence Fishburne. And he's like, what the fuck? I'm not Lawrence Fishburne, you racist motherfucker. Yeah. This feels like one of those. They were just like, oh, it's that black guy. It wasn't that black guy. Or maybe we're being the racist ones and it was Ving Rhames and we just saw a different black dude. Maybe it was Samuel L. Jackson. Fuck. Maybe we're the racists.
I don't think the both of us would have missed that.
I feel like I wouldn't have missed Ving Rhames. I'm going to look it up after this podcast, but if we're wrong, Jesus Christ, egg on our face.
Yeah.
Hopes to Future, remake, sequel, Let It Die, Leave Well Alone. Well, you can't do a remake in a post-Matrix world. Sorry, go for it.
Actually, do you mind if because I got a decent answer for this?
Yeah, absolutely.
I do.
that felt like passive aggressive. Do you mind if I've actually got a decent answer for this before you spiel off whatever bullshit you were going to say?
I don't want your shit about I think this is perfect for a sort of remake mini series. I want to say. I think because there's so many questions are answered, you can go more into the strangers, more into the tune inside, more. So I think I'd love to see a remake, but make it a series, 2-3 seasons tops. I think would be.
Oh, I think you could do this in one kind of like classic HBO 8-episode kind of style thing, even.
Yeah.
I just think what you need to do is push it, like get into what this movie really is about, i.e., aliens and fucking spaceships, quick to move it away from the direct comparisons with the Matrix.
Yeah.
Because as long as you're keeping that a mystery, people will be like, dude, this is just the fucking Matrix, right? Once you move away from that, you're like, oh, well, it becomes its own unique beast to a certain extent, and you can kind of get away with it. But as a direct remake, I was like, that is the elephant in the room is the Matrix.
Yeah. I think you need to end it before you start going full sci-fi and having, you brought in another stranger who is in another dark city, and now he's coming to this one and before you go full sci-fi and do all that, just have it one long form season, 8 episodes, as you say, and
well, like I said, I mean,
for your shitty answer.
Well, I don't want to say leave it alone because that feels like I'm being a bit more precious. I mean, I'm borderline Let It Die because I'm just like it's a film of its time to a certain extent. As I said, I think it's been supplanted in many respects by The Matrix. I feel like it's one of those films to have the full impact of it. You needed to watch it in 1998, and now it's 2026, and it's just not going to happen. So I'm sadly going to say Let It Die, but with the greatest of respect because I do think it is a good movie.
I mean, personally, I think that's a bit harsh. I wouldn't say Let It Die. If I wasn't going to go for the TV show,
with a caveat.
Yeah, if I want, no, no, no,
Yeah,
I'm not. I'm just saying,
no,
like for
no, I
me
got you.
personally,
Yeah,
if I want to go remake, I would leave it alone. But I wouldn't want this film to die. Uh,
no, no,
yeah,
it's just I always have that kind of like separation in my head between like Let It Die and Leave Well Alone. Leave Well Alone, I feel like I kind of like associate with like Back to the Future. I'm just like, don't fucking remake Back to the Future, just leave it alone. Like it's too precious a thing. You can't go remaking Back to the Future. Whereas this movie, I don't have any like connection to, so I'm
no,
just
I
like,
get that.
Let It Die. But the only reason I'm saying Let It Die is literally again because of the Matrix. Because if it wasn't for the Matrix and the inherent similarities and the fact that I just totally supplanted this movie in the popular consciousness, is like I would love to see a sequel to this film or even a remake. But I'm just like, it's not going to happen now.
No, I totally get it. But I always see Let It Die as like this film was terrible.
Yeah, I know
Nobody
what you
should ever
mean.
watch this film again. Fucking bury it.
We need somewhere in
Yeah.
the like I
Well,
said.
maybe we should revisit the thing, and maybe we
Well,
should have
that's
but
why I
yeah.
said Let It Die, but with the greatest of respect. But
No,
anyway,
yeah. I mean, don't turn it into Ryan Reynolds and just bury it. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah,
Just
exactly that. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
just yeah.
Make a change. So if you're going to make one change to make this movie better, for me, I've kind of hinted at a few times. It's new leading man. I mean, I could pick a whole bunch of things, but I'll go with new leading man. And I was kind of caught up around what 1998. I was like Jeff Bridges, Denzel Washington, Harrison Ford, even. But Nicolas Cage would be an interesting one, you know, considering he worked with the director again. He's kind of weird enough. But I actually think for the weirdness of the movie, I actually think like Johnny Depp, 1998 Johnny Depp, I can totally see him in the leading room
Yeah,
for
he
this
was coming
movie.
off. Was he coming off Nick of
Edward
Time and
Scissorhands and
the
stuff.
ninth gate at this time as well?
Ninth Gate, yeah. Oh,
Ninth
yeah, I
gate.
can totally see
Yeah,
that same aesthetic. Like,
but I mean, I'm with Alex Proyas and have a non
mhm,
recognizable face. So
yeah.
I mean, I appreciate what you're saying. They could have carried the film, but I think a
Mhm.
non-recognizable face would have, you know. So I can't say who would have done it
Yeah,
instead.
yeah, it's fair enough.
Uh,
I
uh,
just think,
oh no,
I
I
just
totally
thought he
get it.
was fine, but I just think this needed a kind of stronger leading man because, in fairness to him, he wasn't given a huge amount to work with. So I just think you need more of a presence, and that's why I'd go for
We
maybe one of those.
we should do Nick of Time soon. That was a random Johnny Depp film.
What's that?
Nick of
Nick of Time.
Time. Yeah,
Oh,
in
nick of time.
of
I
time.
thought you were
Yeah,
saying nick of time, as in like, you know, the British term for underwear. Nick
yeah.
of time. I was like,
Nick
what
of
is this like fucking low key porno with Johnny Depp in it? Nick of time of all the Johnny Depp movies we could do. Nick of time?
Well, that's what I'm
Really?
saying. It's such a low key, random film, but it'd be
What?
interesting to revisit.
I've got like we're going through all like the weirdest kind of like cuts for Johnny Depp, like that third ninth gate, isn't it? Ninth
Ninth
gate, but we
Gate,
don't want
yeah.
to go through that given the director.
No.
I've got a real soft spot for the Stephen King adaptation he did with oh, what the fuck is it called? You Stole My Story, you know, where it's like he's a writer
Oh
for
yeah,
the
not
Stephen King
Rear Window. It was
adaptation.
a Secret Window, Rear Window,
Secret
something like
Window.
that.
I had
Yeah,
broken glass in my head. All these fucking
yeah.
yeah, Secret Window. All right, Secret Window isn't a great film, but Johnny Depp and Jon Stewart on screen are just like really good together. Um, I'm not sure if it'd really play for like a kind of rewatch for the podcast, but it's just like you know in those bizarre films where you're like you know it's not that good, but if it's on TV and it's 15 minutes and I'm like I'm watching all of Secret Window 100%.
I just want to watch Nick of Time now. Nick of Time.
Nick of time, thank you. Although
Yeah,
we keep talking about like an alternative Stephen King season, and I mean that definitely fucking fits the bill for that.
it could do. Yeah,
Although let's be clear, there are so many weird Stephen King movies we could
yeah.
choose from. Anyway, sorry,
R-
literally.
no, that's okay. So for me, it's let Emma have more agency. You know, Jennifer
Mhm.
Connelly, she's magnetic, but the film sidelines into sad wife with song. I give her a moment of discovery, a confrontation with the strangers, or a role in Murdoch's awakening. The emotional core is there; it just needs space to breathe.
Yeah.
She needed more to do.
The most she does is like she pushes William Hurt once. That's
Yeah,
about it, sadly.
yeah.
Video games, unsurprisingly, there wasn't a Dark City video game, or if there was, I certainly missed it. For me, there was a pretty obvious answer here. It's Bioshock by Irrational Games. It could be Bioshock or Bioshock Infinite, basically replace Rapture or Columbia with Dark City. It even has like crossover powers with like the plasmids and stuff. So as I was watching, I was like, this feels like Bioshock. Like I said, either Bioshock 1 more obviously because of the aesthetic, but thematically maybe close to Bioshock Infinite. And Bioshock Infinite, if you've ever played the entirety of that game, it gets really fucking weird at the end with like
Yeah.
alternate dimensions and shit. So yeah, Bioshock slash Dark City game, I think would be awesome.
I mean, you're 100% correct because you stole my mind. Well, you didn't steal mine. You know what I mean?
It's the
Because
right answer though, yeah, yeah.
I'm Bioshock as well. But because you just said everything correct, I'm just going to go for an honorable mention as well and say Dishonored for the gothic
Yeah,
urban decay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Aesthetically, like I think there's because those films actually, those games aesthetically almost feel like they kind of, in the same ballpark. It's
yeah,
slightly different art styles, but maybe it's because they released around a similar-ish time as well. But I think that's a good shot as well. So some in between those two games anyway.
yeah.
IMDb, so it's where we pick a random 10-star and 1-star review. But before we do that, I try and guess how many written reviews there are. I don't think there's going to be that many. I think, is it under 100? Oh,
Putting it
108.
under 100.
I thought it was, how many people seen? But then these are those weird films because it's a cult film. The people who feel passionately about it feel passionately enough to write fucking reviews.
Let me
108.
help you. Let me help you. If you under 100, try under 1,000.
What the fuck? 800?
796.
I mean, fuck, I was actually pretty close to my
Yeah,
third
yeah.
guess, despite the fact that my first two guesses were miles off. There are that many written reviews for this fucking movie.
796 written reviews on IMDb.
That isn't written. That is an official discourse on IMDb about this movie. Oh my God. I mean, the only thing then I start thinking is a lot of people are going to feel quite passionate about this film. So I suspect there aren't going to be many 1-star reviews comparatively. I think there might actually be a fair few 10-star reviews.
You'd be right there, yeah. To be
I'm
fair.
going to guess like out of 700, fuck, I don't know, like 87?
196.
Fuck, dude, that's a lot of 10-star reviews for a film,
That's a
which is definitely
lot
not a
of
10-star movie.
10-star reviews.
Oh,
I'm
what a
going
couple
I've
of
gone for a
dweebs.
recent one, July 2022,
Mhm.
titled Perfect in Any Way. Not every way, any way.
Anyway.
Yeah. Perfect story, cast, storyboarding, brilliant acting, the very best sci-fi movie ever made. This is both artsy and
Whoa.
Hollywood at its best at the same time. Both surreal and very logical at the same time. A bit too dark, maybe, a bit too much Brazil-ish, but this is just minor errors in a masterpiece. I keep coming back to this movie when I require dark quality entertainment. Not recommended if you have a hard time and need something with more positive vibes, although this movie really have several hidden positive gems.
I mean that review, like this movie, kind of goes off the rails towards the end.
Yeah,
But it's one of those things we failed to mention because we got caught up in the whole obvious comparisons with the Matrix. But there is more than a hint of Terry Gilliam to this film from an
yeah,
aesthetic perspective, and certainly Brazil is the obvious. I did mention earlier Time Bandits for some of the characters. There is definitely a nod to Terry Gilliam there, but Brazil is probably the most obvious comparison point. But yeah, it's just, and I'm sure when it was released in 1998, that would have been the obvious comparison point beyond the kind of serial, kind of pulpy stuff from, like, as I said, the early 90s, and
yeah.
that weird. We mentioned on previous podcasts, the 90s was just obsessed with noir. It was just one of those odd decades, this kind of throwback to the 50s. But yeah, watching it now, it's just like, no, it's definitely the Matrix. But yeah, 10 stars feels a bit much. 1 star is maybe even more insane because this is definitely not a 1-star film. I don't think there's going to be that many of them, but I've been wrong about pretty much everything when it comes to these reviews. I'm going to guess at like 21.
16.
16. Oh, that's a
Yeah,
bit
not
better
too
about that
bad.
one.
Yeah. Yeah. So this was written in June 2001, titled Worst Movie of the Year.
Oof. Roger
Everything
Ebert would be furious with this cunt.
everything about this movie was a disaster. The acting was like something out of public access cable. The story is blindingly stupid. Rufus Sewell is hopelessly inert. Keith Sutherland an embarrassment, and Jennifer Connelly proof that some careers should be ended by act of law if need be. Fucking hell. The
Wowzers,
only
man.
one
Talk about going in two-footed.
the only one who emerges with his skin intact is William Hurt. The aliens are rip-offs of the Cenobites from Hellraiser. The movie is just a drown in adolescent philosophizing and cinematic murk. If you enjoyed this movie, odds are 10 to 1 you are a precious, pretentious art student. This is really the worst movie I've seen in about 10 years, and one of the few where I felt I had actually been robbed, even though I got it as a free rental.
I mean, that is great. I mean, in
Ouch.
fairness, one of the things he said was correct. The best thing about this film is William Hurt, without question. But yeah, it's incredibly fucking harsh and surprisingly well written. Despite the fact that it was mental. Usually,
Yeah.
these kind of 1-star and 10-star reviews are written by complete lunatics, but and devolve into absolute nonsense. Whereas that was like, relatively legible. Like, you
Yeah.
read it like a human being. But yes, I do disagree. Which brings us to our
Uh,
own scores and
Before we do
recommendations.
that, sorry, I'm
Oh,
adding
go
a
for it.
new one to this. What do you think was the most average score between 10 and 1?
I think it's 8.
Oh, fucking spot on.
Yeah, I can imagine a lot of people writing reviews to this would feel pretty strongly about it. I don't agree with that, but I can totally imagine a lot of people coming in and going, "Yeah, this is like."
It's a 7.5,
Mhm.
225,000 reviews.
That is insane. That is insane.
Yeah.
I listen. I knew this movie was a cult movie. I didn't know it was that big a deal. I just had no idea that.
225.6K
I
of
have
reviews.
totally underestimated the popularity of this
Yeah.
film.
I'm gonna add that to our little thing now. I'm gonna add the average for you as well, just so we
No,
can see
no,
the
that's an
average when we
interesting
do it.
one. And
Yeah.
isn't it interesting how like some films just kind of like go under your radar? And this was totally one of those films. Like, like when you picked this film last week and I was like guessing it, I was like, oh, it was the what was it the 13th, excuse me, 13th floor or Dark City? And I just
Yeah.
conflated the two because I'd never seen either of them. I was just like, it could have been you could have read the synopsis for either film and just give me whatever title, I would have believed you. Because in my head, they're basically just the same film, which I know they're very much not. But for whatever reason, Dark City just completely went into my radar when it came out, and then just fell off the edge of a cliff, as far as I was concerned. It's
Yeah.
not a movie I'd ever really given a second thought to, but a lot of people are obviously very passionate about it. So yeah, obviously a good choice, and it was a good choice because it does come to our own scores and recommendations, and it is a 3 for me, which doesn't sound glowing, but it's also a yes from a recommending point of view because I think this is a really good film. I think, like I said, it's easy to pick apart to a certain extent, but there's loads to love. And if you're not watching it for a podcast and you're asking every last little question and going, well, that doesn't make sense, blah blah. If you kind of just let this movie wash over you, it's really fun and oddly unique in its own way, despite the fact that it's evocative of all these other films you've seen. But there's nothing else quite like it, bizarrely, despite the similarities to The Matrix. It still feels like its own thing. I don't quite know how it pulls that off, but it does manage to. So I'm going to say 3 because it's got far too many faults to give it anything higher than that. But yes, as a recommendation because I think it holds up in 2026.
Basically the same with me. It's a free and a yes. Uh,
Mhm.
it's aside from all the questions that you've just said, it is thoroughly watchable. It's interesting. It makes you ask questions, even though you don't get the answers for those questions. But I would say watch it, and it's definitely a 3.
Yeah, and like you say,
Yeah.
because you have the issue because it's like 100 minutes, you don't get all the answers you want. But also because it's 100 minutes, it's so propulsive. It just things keep happening, and you haven't unless you're like taking notes, you haven't really got time to stop and think about. Like I had to keep pausing to take notes because I was just like, "Fuck, we're just on to the next scene." So it's
Yeah.
just if you just kind of let the movie wash over you, there's loads to like here. Like you said, largely decent performances, great to look at, and yeah. I can, like I said, the numbers still surprise me, but I can see why it's got a cult following. Just
Yeah.
not as much as it has. Like last week, you can have a quick mini quiz. All right. So this is where
Oh,
I read
I
out
forgot about this. Yeah. Yeah.
hints for movies, and you can see if you can get them. So a high schooler starts a business while his parents are on
Risky
vacation.
business.
Fucking hell, dude, you're absolutely slaying these. A foreign man steps on a bunch of people in the subway. It's actually a pretty good hint, but I'll give you a hint beforehand. That's regarding a very specific scene for the film. A
Yeah.
foreign man steps on a bunch of people in the subway.
I mean, to be fair, it feels like Godzilla. If we're gonna
Well,
go,
you're definitely going to get it from the second hint. He
okay.
has a big knife.
Oh,
I thought you'd get it from that
am I
second.
gonna get it from a Subway? Big knife. It's a horror film then.
No, it's a comedy. It's a romantic comedy.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Of course, it's Crocodile Dundee, isn't it?
Crocodile Dundee. Yeah, no, you got that.
Yeah.
I can see
Yeah.
why you go for that, though, thinking it was going to be going down the horror route.
Yeah.
And the last one this week, an heiress designs a miniature golf course. An heiress designs a miniature golf course. This one's a bit trickier. We have talked about it
Yeah. No. 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 It's
relatively
overboard.
recently. Oh, dude, that's fucking
Yeah.
awesome. I thought that was going
Yeah.
to be tricky. You've done pretty well there. Done pretty well. So we'll do another 3 of those next week. But
Looking forward. We're gonna have to see if they got an expansion pack now because we can't give that. That's a good game.
yeah, I know we're
All
going to
right.
have to come up with something
I'm
else
gonna
when
have
we
to
run out of
see
these.
if I can grab them as well because I know I give you enough quizzes as it is, but
I
I
think we
feel
should
like I'm
go back.
bogarting all the quizzes.
No, I think, maybe what we'll do is on the weeks where I pick the movie, I'll do this. And then your ones, I think we should go back to the IMDb game because I think we've abandoned that and I think it was really good. the whole what is this person or what is that
Oh, they're
movie
known
the
for.
director known for, where you can
Yeah.
pick a star or the director or whatever from the movie and say what are they known for, because on IMDb they have the four known fors, and quite often they are absolutely batshit, the
Yeah,
choices.
I'll bring known for back. Yeah, okay.
So yeah, you can bring that back next week. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Cool.
it's your choice next week. So shall I bring it back
Okay,
for my
so
game?
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
you'll have three more of these next week, and then we'll go to IMDb.
Yeah.
Speaking of next week, it is my choice. The year is 1980.
Oh, fucking hell. You're going
Pretty
really
early.
old school. Yeah.
I've been looking for an
I'll
excuse to rewatch this film for quite a while.
I'll need more.
Directed by Mike Hodges. Not sure how that's going to help. He's probably most famous for directing Get Carter. I'm not sure if that's going to help. The star might
No.
help. It stars Sam J. Jones.
Is he alive by any chance?
It's not. It's not.
Oh, it's not Flash Gordon.
It is Flash Gordon.
Yeah,
It is
Flash
Flash.
Gordon's alive.
Oh,
That's what I
sorry. I thought
meant.
you said
Yeah,
alive. So I was just
I
like
did say
alive.
alive. He doesn't he? Brian Brown go, oh, Brian Blessed, Flash Gordon's
Yeah,
alive.
but I thought you were going to say Gordon's alive rather than just saying alive. When I was just like, wait, as in the movie about the Argentinian rugby players who have to eat their asses because to survive.
Oh,
That is alive, right?
you thought I said the film Alive,
Yeah,
but
I
when they
just
get
saw
stuck
you
in the
said
Andes.
alive. Yeah. I was just like alive. I was like, because I was like, oh, he's onto this. He knows exactly what it is. Alive. I was like, alive definitely wasn't released in
No,
1980.
I came up with is he alive by any chance? Not
Oh,
is it
sorry,
alive?
sorry,
But
my apologies. I just heard alive, so hence the confusion. Anyway, yes, we're doing Flash Gordon, a movie that I didn't really have a connection to as a
no,
kid.
no.
It's a movie that I've got to know largely through references, through fucking Ted, from Family Guy and all this other nonsense. But when I'm actually really looking forward to revisiting, because I think it came out at like the worst possible time. Because watching as a kid, it just felt chintzy rather than being this kind of like nod to kind of serial. When I was thinking of like, oh, if you're going to do a nod to serials from like the 30s, 40s, and 50s, I'm thinking Star Wars and Indiana Jones, stuff that certainly in in the 80s when I was watching these movies felt modern. Whereas this movie looks like it could have been shot in the 50s.
Yeah.
That's kind of the whole point of it. And it was just something I wasn't particularly interested in. But I saw a clip of it recently, and I totally forgot Timothy Dalton was in it, and I was like, God damn, man, this looks fun. I need to
I
rewatch
remember
it.
it was the whole put your hand in a tree thing and
Oh
see
yeah,
if you
yeah, yeah,
get,
yeah. I remember
yeah.
that, yeah.
So that's one of the things I remember from it. I also remember it being very soap opera-ish.
Yeah. Well,
So
and
it'll
that's one
be
of the things
interesting.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's like we mentioned before with like the Breakfast Club. The first time I watched the Breakfast Club, I think I couldn't have watched it at a worse time in terms of distance from its release plus my age equals because I watched it like 10, 15 years later. So I get it now. Like I find it quite charming. This movie, I think I just watched it at the wrong time. Or I watched some of it. I don't think I ever watched the entirety of the movie. But now I'm like, I think I can revisit it with a different mindset. I'm not suggesting for a second I'm going to suddenly fall in love, but I'm interested to find out how I feel about this film in
I mean,
2026.
first thing, are you being beamed up by any
I know
chance?
the sun is now directly in my eyes. Just
Okay.
well, I live in Scotland, man. Every so often the sun comes out. This will last for like 20 seconds, and then I'll just be in darkness again.
It's really, I was just expecting you to get beamed up all of a sudden. You're just an array of light.
I mean, usually I would stop the podcast, go and close the curtains, but
Yeah,
we
but
are
we're
wrapping
towards
up
the
now,
end.
so you
Yeah.
just have to deal with me bathed
That's
in light.
absolutely fine. Secondly, same as you, I watched it as a kid, probably at the
Mhm.
wrong time. Never really it wasn't one I'd go back to or
Yeah.
enjoy, But no, I'm at the age now where I think I could find it interesting and fun.
I
So yeah,
find it both interesting and completely unsurprising that we have the same feeling about this film from our youth. Because I just like I said, I suspect that it was just the wrong time to be watching it. I think
yeah,
basically, if you're watching Flash Gordon in the mid '80s, you probably needed to be a bit older to really appreciate it, I think.
yeah.
Whereas for us, I was just like, it just looks chintzy and old fashioned. Whereas, like I said, now we'll come to it with a different set of eyes. So it'll be interesting to see what we make of it now. But like I said, I've been looking for an excuse, and the podcast seemed as good one as any.
The way Flash Gordon came in for me was two. There was and they were Saturday morning cartoons. Do you remember Defenders of the Earth?
Oh yeah, of course.
Defenders of the Earth, Defenders. Where it was like the Flash, Mandrake, the magician, and it was their kids. But also, we had one as well. I think it was late 90s, 96, 95. Flash Gordon, but Flash Gordon was a like a skateboarding Flash
I remember that
Gordon.
one. Yeah.
And him and Dale, they were teenagers, and it was to fight Ming and like end up, whatever planet they end up going to and stuff. But
Bizarre.
yeah, you don't remember that one?
I don't remember that
No.
one. No. But I'll look it up for the podcast, so I look forward to it. But
Yeah.
I think this is going to be an interesting one because I literally don't know how this is going to go. I suspect I won't hate it, but I feel like this could be anywhere between like 2 stars and 5 stars. I have just no idea whatsoever.
Yeah,
So,
it's going to be interesting which way it goes.
yeah, especially as neither of us have seen this since we were like basically kids. I literally think I watched half of this film when I was like 9, and I've just never gone back to it.
I'm gonna say I probably saw it, late 80s, early 90s. So I was probably 7 or 8.
I'm the same age, so very similar experiences. But yeah, this has been what year was this released?
1998.
1998's Dark City. Thank you very much. We've said it, we've referenced it about 22 times. It came out the year before The Matrix, for fuck's sake. This has been Dark City. Please do join us next week for 1980s Flash Gordon. Anything else to add before we wrap this up?
No, we'll end it there, mate. Sounds like a good place as any.
I've been Liam, he's been Rob, and you've been listening to the Hey Guys podcast. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.
Oh, and before I forget, where can folk reach us if they were so inclined to?
Well, you can actually reach us on Hey You Guys 80s at Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. But if you want to send us a mail, do heyyouguys80s@gmail.com. Send us in your recommendations. Send us in your thoughts about any of the episodes. Just literally talk to us. We'll have a one-sided talk with you on the podcast.
Yeah. We're nice folk. Get in touch. But no, cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.